Welcome back. It's been 4 years since the last time you did ACL, 12 years since your debut,
Yeah.
which was the last year we taped the show in the original studio up on the University of Texas campus.
Yep.
Our 36th season. So here's a random question. How would you describe the difference between the Brandi Carlile of 12 years ago and the Brandi Carlile today?
The Brandi Carlile 12 years ago and the Brandi Carlile today are vastly different. The Brandi Carlile today is a mother and married and singing from a totally different perspective than I was at Give Up the Ghost when I first came here to my beloved ACL. I was always a huge fan of the show. I always wanted to do it. It was one of those moments where I felt that I'd made it because I got to do the show. And some things haven't changed. I still beat on my guitar really hard and sing too loud and wear my heart on my sleeve. And the thing I love about getting to do ACL is the amount of time I get to spend on the show.
So I know your perspective obviously has changed. Has your songwriting process, the way you collect your thoughts and put them into words and into music?
Yeah, my songwriting process has changed. I think just in that I write a lot less songs now. My thoughts go in many different directions, whereas all my thoughts used to just go straight into songs. And so I tend to write less fleeting songs based on kind of abstract thoughts that are gonna come and go. But the songs that I write, I feel more attached to as a person. They feel more like they come from my soul.
Your songs are so personal, so emotional, many of them. When you're writing a song and you're focused on recording that in a studio, how much thought do you give to the fact that you're going to be ultimately on a stage performing those same personal, intimate, emotional songs to stadiums filled with tens of thousands of people compared to some of those more intimate rooms that you played back in the beginning?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I feel like even when I was in those intimate rooms in the beginning, I always thought I was in stadiums. So I was like Axl Rose, I was out there putting on these shows for 40 people. But I do tend to imagine audiences that aren't there. That's just like a part of who I am molecularly as an entertainer. I don't visualize songwriting as a solitary pursuit or my expression of them. So when I'm in the studio, I actually have to calm down and stop picturing a stage and these big grandiose sweeping show-off notes, or how to work in my own emotional pyrotechnics into the expression of the song. I'm having to constantly remember to center myself and think of the lyrics. But I'm an entertainer, and so it is hard for me to do.
Yeah, it always seems like such a paradox, writing such personal, intimate songs and then performing them on a stage to so many people you don't know. And also knowing, though, that each individual, no matter how many hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands there are, is receiving and processing that song and what it means to them in a different way. It's
true. Actually, I realized that on By the Way I Forgive You with the song The Mother. It was such a personal song. It was actually going to be a mantra for me. I was struggling with the having not given birth to my daughter and not having a lot of LGBTQIA mirroring or imagery like in pop culture growing up. I didn't really understand what my family was supposed to look like or what my role was. And I remember somebody telling me to give myself a mantra, and I used to say, I am the mother of Evangeline, I am the mother of Evangeline. I signed the birth certificate in the father category, but I'm the mother of Evangeline. And there is a place for me, and it's this place. And so I took that on the road and I started singing it for people, and it was so personal. I mean, right down to it actually being my daughter's name. But I noticed that for some reason, because of the depth of truth-telling, it was universal, to the point where you didn't have to have a kid called Evangeline. You didn't even have to be a mother. You could be a father, or you could not even have a kid. And for some reason, that silver strand, that inseverable tie between us and our ancestry draws you into that song and makes you feel it. I've written so many songs and thought I'd rather hear somebody else sing it, and I've written songs and not known I would rather hear somebody else sing it until they did, like Dolly Parton covering The Story. There's certain people like Dolly Parton or Tandy Tucker or Winona Judd where if you get screwed enough for them to sing one of your songs, you will never sing it the same way again because it becomes their song. It just does. Like they'll sing it in a certain way and it's indelible. So yeah, I now sing the story like Dolly Parton. There have been so many people that I've met in person through my job that have had a profound effect on me. I'm one of those girls that does heroes. I have heroes. And I get starstruck, and I used to wait outside of buses and try to catch pics, and I wanted autographs, and I would read biographies, and so I'm not a casual music or pop culture fan. And I think probably the best thing, or my favorite thing about my job has been that I got to grow up and meet my heroes. And they've all had an impact on me. There have been specific things, you know. Elton John, who we were discussing earlier, has really taught me to take myself a lot less seriously and have a laugh and not worry so much about what I wear. And Joni Mitchell, I think, is probably the reason why I write less songs. I don't want to write one that I'd be embarrassed to play for Joni, you know. So my elders and the Way Pavers have had a huge impact on me. I think it's really important that we all remember the dance, remember the language, and remember where our music and our inspiration came from.
No matter how much you loved and respected Joni's music beforehand, meeting her and getting to know her, not just in person, but as a friend, that's got to change your whole perspective about her.
Yeah, meeting Joni and getting to experience her as a friend has been just like probably the craziest thing that's happened to me in my lifetime, you know? Just drinking Pinot Grigio, just drinking Santa Margarita over at Joni's house and listening to her riff on how she wrote Refuge of the Roads. It's like, it's just the kind of shit where like when your life flashes before your eyes, you see that. And my life has just been filled with more just explosions of blessing than I can really contain.
So in many ways, that's still the kid part of you. You never get used to just hanging out with Joni Mitchell, right?
Dude, you never get used to it. Like you never get used to it. You see them all out there, and the Way Pavers and the rock stars, they kind of want you to calm down and stop acting weird and treat them like peers and stuff, you know. But I'll never be able to.
So you've been pretty vocal about opposing this whole idea of hits and doing hit singles specifically to get on radio or whatever. So you obviously still believe that the concept of an album is relevant in today's streaming world. Why?
Oh, I think that the concept of a fully realized album is still monumentally important. It's important to people whose lives are defined by them. I mean, how many times do you remember a period of time in your life, extreme loss or some amazing road trip or something that's happened to you that's profound, that's like tattooed on your soul? Like, what album was the soundtrack to that, you know? I think albums become our canvas. They become the backdrop of our lives. Songs do that too, but an artist is so intentional about a collection of songs documenting a period in their life. How am I supposed to make a collection of songs to become the soundtrack of something that happens in your life if it isn't the soundtrack of something that happened in my life? And how can I accomplish that in 3.5 minutes, you know?
Well, there's no doubt that it has, or potentially has, more impact, of course, without naming names of artists. There are those who put out albums that are merely a random collection of different songs.
You can hear it, too.
It all depends on the artist approach to it. So here we are, 7 albums in. Let's see, it's a long list. Non-stop touring, curating festivals, numerous collaborations, the Tecker Film, a foundation, your activism. You're not very good at boredom, are you?
No, I may have a problem. I may have a thin streak of workaholism. But I did get my license and became a boat captain. That's something I've been doing a lot lately. I've got a boat now. Yeah, it's like a fishing boat. Yeah. It's called Captain Fantastic. And that's been a big new endeavor of mine. Written many an op-ed and song out on the old Captain Fantastic.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, you must still have a bucket list, so what comes next, or what more is there that you haven't done that you'd like to do?
Oh, what comes next? Do you know what? I still have not performed on stage with my greatest hero of all time,
Are you willing to tell us who your greatest hero of all time is?
Captain Fantastic, baby. Elton John. So
Oh, wow.
someday I want to get up on stage with the man himself.
I'm surprised it hasn't already happened.
I know.
Well, that's
I
a
know.
very worthy goal, and
Yeah.
I'm sure, I have no doubt you'll make it someday, probably sooner than we think.
Thanks, Terry.